Hey, good morning. I know, it's Sunday, September 10th. What the hell am I doing, huh? Well, I had a few free minutes, and something that's been mulling over in my head now for a while is I get asked the question about, you know, getting into the business, getting started out, whether you're doing mobile or you're going to do retail. Is it still viable? And in order to answer that, we can't use old school mentality. Now, if you watched my other video on the demise of the small engine repair shop, I talked about Larry. And Larry is the same guy with thousands of shops around the U.S. that is at retirement age, and he put everything that he had, his excess monies and stuff, back into the business because in the reality he had hoped that when he got ready to retire that the business would help during his retirement years, the sale of the business or so forth. And that's just not happening. There's thousands of Larrys, and they're in the same predicament. They're left with a building that isn't worth as much as they thought it would be, inventory that's not worth anything near what they thought it would be, clientele not there. See, when you get ready to retire, there are a few things that you can do normally with a business, and that is sell the business to someone else that wants to continue the business. And you can either take a large sum or so much on the front and then the rest on the back end over monthly payments for so many years. And that used to be the norm. And one of the things that people took into account, and so didn't banks, was the value of the inventory that you have on hand. But the hard thing is putting value on that inventory anymore. And why is that the case? Well, because let me break it down. If I buy an OEM carburetor from HomeLight, it's going to cost me $75 for a chainsaw. If I buy it from the aftermarket companies, I'm going to pay $38 to $40. But if I go online and I buy it off eBay or Amazon from a Chinese seller, I can get it for $19.99, and I can get fuel line, fuel filter, spark plug, you name it, in a bundle. So what does that do to the aftermarket inventory and the OEM inventory you have on hand? It devalues it. I hate to say this, but it makes it somewhat worthless. Yes, you can sell the OEMs to the right guy, the guy that has to have an OEM and won't take anything other than that. But you're not going to sell $100,000 worth of OEM to one guy. It's going to take time to piecemeal that out. So what's going on with these older shops? The end result is the shop owners are left with having an auction, taking pennies on the dollar for their inventory and equipment, and the only thing that had any value would be the real estate. See, with the old school mentality, repair shops, small engine repair shops, would carry a certain line of lawn and garden equipment, whether it be Cub Cadet or John Deere or Troy-Bilt, or, there's so many different brands out there. And so they had sales, but they also had a retail where you could walk in and buy parts or accessories. And then that was the front end. And they made the money off from the sales, and they made the money off from the sales of their parts and accessories. The back end was the repair business, and the repair business functioned mainly on warranty and then walk-ins, people that would call and ask to have their units worked on. And a lot of these, old school shops have built up a very good size clientele base. And they knew that every so many years that customer would come back and want to trade in the old lawnmower and get a new one. And it was kind of like a car dealership, You get so much money on the front end of a sale of the new one, but you're going to make your money on the used one. Not so much today. The manufacturers have cheapened things so much that a lot of places no longer will take trade-ins. And why is that? Because they can't get the money that they used to get out of that older machine. Nobody wants it. Here at this shop, I call it the $500 machine or less. When it comes to a riding lawnmower, unless it is really close to being new, and it's a zero turn or it's a John Deere Simplicity, 500 is the max that you're going to get. And really the only time you're going to get that is in the spring of the year when people are looking for lawnmowers. And I can give you an example. I just bought a used John Deere LA 135 from one of our customers that had bought the riding mower from a John Deere dealership 9 years ago. And one of the hangers on the deck came loose. It broke. And before he and I talked, he had already gone out and replaced it. And I explained to him after the fact, I said, look, we probably could have fixed that for you or found a different deck. But this time he went to Lowe's. And he got one of the big box, which they start with an S instead of an LA, But I had to tell him because he was thinking that his older machine should be worth $1,200 to $1,500. And I said, then you need to sell it to somebody else. I said, here's my reality. My reality is most of my customers will not pay over $500 for a used riding lawnmower. Most of my customers that are looking for a used riding lawnmower is in the spring and early summer. Once you get to a certain point, most of my customers are going to try to limp through what they've got instead of going out and buying something else. So that means on my end, not only do I have to buy it right, but I have to figure in the cost of fixing it and that I'm going to hold it for till spring. It's right now it's September. I bought it here 3 or 4 days ago, and I've got to hold it until May, June of next year. So then now I've got to tie up my money. But most shops are not willing to take used equipment in on their brand new inventory. Unless it's within a couple years old, or you're trading in like a 2 or a 3-year-old John Deere from a dealership, and you're trading it back to that dealership for a new one. But none of these shops can afford to sit on used stuff for a full year, or at least until spring. And then they also have to look at how much have I got to put into it to get it fixed and ready to sell, and they also have to warranty it. I also have to warranty it. If I sell it here even as is, if something happens to it right off the bat, then I end up having to come good for it. And the other revenue stream was in the repair shop. A lot of customers, well, let's put it this way. Money's tight no matter where you look. The average guy, has lost a lot of money due to inflation, due to everything going up. When it comes to trying to buy stuff, the value of their dollar is worth less. It's not a booming market for small engine repairs. So what a lot of these guys are doing, and gals, is that they're fixing it themselves, or they're junking it and just going and getting new. Either way, it's cutting out the repair shop. So the long list of clientele that used to had a value to it, value added to it, is no longer the case. Because now we've seen our customer list dwindle down. And the only time that we really see our customers is when it's more than they want to try to take on themselves. If you try to run a shop old school today, you're just not going to make it. And for all the Larrys out there that are in this boat, my heart goes out to you. I'm not that far away from being Larry. And what I'm trying to do at our shop is reduce the inventory, not carry a lot of inventory anymore. I try to carry the fast-moving stuff. I don't have floor planning going on out front. I don't want any debt at this point in my life. And if I had to do it all over again, I would do it as debt-free as possible. A lot of the Larrys out there have debt, either for floor planning, to inventory, to even the building, the mortgage is debt. Good chances are that the Larrys out there are just going to kind of quietly go away. One day you're going to see them out here at the shop, and then the next day it's going to be closed up. This video is not to discourage you if you're trying to get in. It's to try to stress enough that what used to be the way you ran business is no longer the case. Where are we headed as a society when it comes to shops like ours? I can tell you right now that between the manufacturer and our government and the Chinese, they're trying to put us out of business because there has become a war on anything that's gas powered. They want to make it an antique only to be seen but not heard and used. And we're changing over to the battery operated revolution. For you guys that are doing commercial, you're probably going to last longer than the homeowners. But I'm already seeing the swing, the smell in the air of summer going into fall, of repair shops where they usually make the bulk of their money during the spring through to fall, aren't seeing that revenue stream. And I've been going around to the different shops that are floor planning. And I'm seeing a lot of units still in crates. That tells me they didn't sell what they hoped they could sell. My friend that I just bought the John Deere from, instead of going to a local dealership and supporting them, he opted to go to Lowe's. Because the same model, similar model to the one that he bought, was almost $800 more from the dealer. What are you going to do when it comes to getting into the business? I'd like to hear what you have to say on it. I mean, I hear story after story after story of the Larrys out there. And it's really sad. Because in your golden years, you were supposed to be able to retire and do the things that you wanted to do. And now what you have is worthless. It's not totally worthless, but not anywhere near where you had hoped it would be when you got to this point in your life. To the point of your father getting to that point in his life years ago and having those options available that are no longer available to the Larrys of today, to me. What I'm saying is a general trend. If you want to do like what I'm doing, per se, your inventory should be based on battery operated. If you're a retail, brand new floor planning, you need to go with the battery powered stuff and less of the gas operated. Just trying to be honest. You have to think outside the box now on how you're going to do business. The repair side of things isn't going to be where you can make money and try to support someone that you're paying $20, $25 an hour to work on stuff. I mean, how much fixing is there to a battery operated unit? But I think they come up with all these ideas. Take California for an example, where they're trying to have a total ban. And I did some reading a while back, and they were talking to different landscapers in California, and the reluctancy to transition over to battery. And the one gardener landscaper explained that one of the larger leaf blowers that they use for clearing the lawns and stuff, if they went with electric, it was going to cost them $2,000. But for the equivalent in a gas powered, it was only $500. The gas powered would run all day long as you kept putting more gas in it. The battery operated unit with 2 batteries would only last an hour and a half to 2 hours tops. And then you'd have to recharge batteries. So you'd need up to 10 to 12 batteries per unit to make it work all day long on a 10-hour shift or an 8-hour shift. Just the cost to these landscapers in just equipment is astounding. It's $1 billion or more in California. So the general trend that I'm seeing are the Larrys out there are going to quietly go away. And there's not going to be anything replacing them as far as like your small town repair guys. It's not going to be big box where they carry the batteries, and some accessories. And we are now in a throwaway generation, so people, when they quit running, would just go buy new. That's what the manufacturers want. They want to keep peddling you new stuff. And I think that's part of the reason why trying to get parts is getting harder and everything being on back orders, because the manufacturer no longer wants to deal with parts and having you fix your old stuff. They want you to go buy new. You can still do it, but you got to do it thinking outside the box and not the way the old school is. And for you guys out there that are Larrys, you got to think of an exit strategy quickly, and hopefully one that's going to be profitable to you for your retirement. On that note, you guys enjoy your Sunday, and I'll see you here for Shop Talk tomorrow morning.